Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for a new episode of Anewgo of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and joining me today is Melissa Cervin, who is VP of Marketing with Lombardo Homes. Welcome to the show, Melissa. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
It's been a while since we've had you in a podcast. So I figured it would be good to revisit. So you guys, if you haven't heard Melissa's first podcast, or you may be new to this podcast anyway, we'll dive into your backstory. So let's hear it. I'm always curious how people get into home building industry. It's always an interesting story. Tell us, how did you get into home building? And tell us a little bit about Lombardo Homes as well.
Okay. I got into home building completely by accident. I was actually supposed to be an elementary school teacher. And when I was going through college, I got a temp job working for a home builder. And I was 17 years old when that happened, and I never left. I did not expect this to be my career. I did the math the other day, and it's been 27 years that I've been in home building. And I just fell in love with it. There's so much in home building, there's so much in marketing specifically that I found out I was very passionate about it, and I actually can't imagine doing anything else. And I'm really grateful I didn't become a school teacher. So yeah, this journey that I had was completely by accident, but love home building. I love that there's so much emotion in it. I'm really passionate about the customer experience and being a part of the biggest purchase of a person's life. And a home is just that. It's not a house, it's a home. It's central in their lives. And to be a part of that for a little while for every customer is a really cool experience. So Lombardo Homes ourselves, we're actually comprised of a bunch of different divisions spanning a couple of states. So we have a division that handles apartments. We also then have in Michigan, which is one of the states we build in and where we started, we have a division that builds production homes, or you could call them semi-custom. We do allow changes and personalization, but we don't make major customizations like moving walls or redesigning the plans. And then we have our Cranbrook Custom Homes division that is completely custom. That is that 1.5 million and above. And you can start with our plan, or I believe it's called White Sheet, where we'll start completely from scratch, building you what you want. So that's what we do in Michigan. We also have a division in St. Louis where we're fully custom in our plan. So we do start with our plan, but we will do anything you want to that plan. And then we also have a division in Columbia, Missouri, and we are just now branching out to start building homes at Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. Our big thing is that we actually have a home for pretty much anyone in the purchase cycle. If you're looking to start an apartment, we have that. If you outgrow your apartment, you're looking to move into a home or second move up, or even into your luxury custom home, we have something for every stage. We like the fact that we don't often have to turn someone away in a sales office. We just sometimes have to redirect them based on their needs.
Yes. And so with so many different stages, you got to wear lots of different marketing hats as far as like thinking, who is my person? So that's got to be super exciting. And you guys, fun fact, Melissa has been our oldest standing client at Anewgo, and we always laugh at how you even found Anewgo, because this was even prior to Anewgo being a rendering house when they first started. And John Lee, our CEO, and you always joke about no idea how you guys even found each other. John just got a phone call, it was Melissa, and the rest is kind of history. So
Yes.
we're very grateful that we've been on this journey with you since.
It's been a fun journey for sure.
Yeah, and I think Lombardo Homes really has a strong reputation for innovation, especially in your Detroit market. So can you talk to us a little bit about how does your team really approach sales and marketing differently from other builders in your area?
I think one of the things that we do a little bit differently is, I don't want to say differently than other builders, because I think every builder tries to keep this top of mind, but the customer experience is really important to us. And I think keeping our finger on the pulse of that customer experience has given me the ability to dive into some of this innovation and the different digital tools and technology that's out there, especially being in the Detroit market. I think that our customers have an expectation, not that other people around the country don't have, but maybe it's a little slower to come. In Detroit, this is where we're an automotive city, we're an automotive state. This is where the big three is. So here in my market, people have been building their cars online for a really long time. They go in and build out their perfect car with their colors, with all of their options, and bring it into the dealership and talk to their sales manager there. And that's just how I can't remember a time when cars weren't bought that way. That's how long they've been doing it. So to then transfer over to a home building experience where you're spending even more money, I think that customers have been very demanding of, why can't I see my house? Like, this is the biggest purchase of my life. So when you're in tune with your customer and understanding what some of the challenges are and what some of their objections or road bumps are, and one of those things is really understanding, what am I buying? When you're picking off little tiny samples or looking at, so many customers we know really struggle with looking at one-dimensional floor plan and understanding spatially what that means when they're starting to envision their furniture in it and things of that. Knowing that customers needed these extra aids, and then they already had it in other facets of their life here in Detroit, it was like, okay, how can we offer that as part of our customer experience here at Lombardo? And that would certainly probably make it easier for them to feel confident in their decision to move forward with building a new home. So it was that demand that sort of started from the customer, and us being in tune with the customer allowed us to take those steps to go, okay, what's out there that can help us do this?
Yeah, you're so right that it's ironic that you can literally design pretty much any car these days, right? When you're buying a new car, the expectation is that I can go online, pick out my colors, pick out my finishes, see it pretty much from any angle I want to. And that car may cost 50 grand, 100 grand tops. Like, how much are you paying for this car? And yet here we are selling homes, and still a lot of builders out there are not offering something that allows their customers to visualize the home and what it's going to look like and overcome those customer objections. So obviously you guys have gotten on board with a Anewgo marketing app, which essentially allows you to customize your home, whether it's the exterior, interior, and go through that entire process of, okay, what does this floor plan look like? What are some of the options? I can save that. But now on the flip side of that, you also have insights, because every single click tells a story. So Melissa, I know you're a big proponent of using data to really drive your marketing strategies. So can you share an example of a marketing decision that you've made using Anewgo insights?
Yes. And this is getting very specific, but it's real life. So our team does quarterly comps where our leadership team, VP of sales, VP of marketing, our division president, we go out to the sales offices every quarter and meet with the sales managers and go through a whole comp process to understand where we're at in the market, if we need to make any adjustments, things of that nature. And we went to a community that's been challenged. Sales have been slow. And when we got out there and we were chatting with the sales manager, she actually started with I know you're not going to believe me, but the buyer here is older and wants ranches. They only want ranches. Now, this is a community that, for all intents and purposes, the research that we did prior to this, we had other communities that we built in the area previous to this, very family-oriented, young kids. We're talking young to elementary age. And this community in and of itself, it didn't have a lot of amenities that would necessarily be conducive to maybe an empty nester buyer and a ranch plan. They were large home sites. There are sidewalks, but there's not a clubhouse or a pool. It's not a low maintenance or no maintenance community. So we expected that it would be the same family-oriented, large home sites, sort of young families. And she said to us, no, it's not. Like, this is what I'm saying. And she actually said it very sheepishly. I know you're not going to believe me, but waiting for us all to object because it just didn't fit with the expectation in what we had done previously. So it was twofold. I'm also a client of Audience Town. So I pulled up some of that information and looked at it, and it supported what she was saying. And then I used insights to look at, in this particular community, what people were actually looking at and clicking on. And it was the ranch plans. Like, our colonials were not getting much play, what the ranch plans were. So based on that information, and this was very recent, we're actually in the process of redesigning and adding a couple of more ranches to be able to have those in the lineup at this community, because the customer is indeed more of an empty nester buyer and they're looking for that ranch plan. And because we didn't expect that, we only had one ranch plan in the community. So again, whether it's monotony or whether it's because that particular ranch didn't fit needs, we knew that we needed to have a couple of other options. Again, very specific, but it was, if I would have had that conversation 10 or 12 years ago, it would have been a bunch of people in a room pulling on past experience and gut, and maybe whoever spoke the loudest would win the conversation, because we didn't have this sort of data to back it up. And even if you could have been in that room to see the sales manager, I know it doesn't make any sense, but I'm seeing an empty nester buyer and they want ranches. And it was just like that, because she was expecting us to go no. But the data said, you know what, you're absolutely right. And which was amazing. It's really, I can't explain the feeling. If there's any of you data nuts out there listening to this, you will understand it. When the story and the data all connect, it's like winning. It's like an incredible feeling.
Yeah, and what's great about it is that you are getting this information early enough, right? That you can pivot and actually make a community success versus relying on past sales to figure out like, oh, we're selling these ranches. But again, maybe that particular ranch is not resonating too much with people, right? So it's giving you a chance to get ahead of it before, before it costs you a lot of money and you have to give discounts and this and that. And actually, you talking about it gives me like flashbacks of back in the day when I used to sell new construction, and we would have these community reviews. If your community was not selling for whatever reason, like all the sales managers would come in and sit and go through everything, all your activities, and you're basically put on the microscope. Are you doing what you're supposed to do? And oftentimes, it's not you, it's a new community, and it's hard to figure this out. Sometimes you don't get it right off the bat.
To your point, that's what's incredible about the data that we have available to us now through things like the insights, is that back in the day, it always did fall on what is or isn't the sales manager. What are they not doing because we're not selling? And now this data shows us the best sales manager can't sell something someone doesn't want. And now we have the ability to understand like, hey, we're just not meeting the market where the market is at. We need to course correct. And it is allowing us to course correct much earlier. And oftentimes, even as we're entering a community, we can double check these things depending on how early we get our information on the website. I have insights available to me the minute we get it up there. So I can see the play on floor plans. I can see the play on the different home sites. So we can start getting this understanding of whether we hit the market or didn't very early on, which is incredible. And I do love it on a more generic level, a less specific story. We do use it. We love to look at it, even to notice things. We rolled out farmhouse elevations probably a little bit later than we should have. And it's funny because you can already see, as soon as we got that out there, we're noticing that we're shifting more towards contemporary elevation. So you can see how these trends come and go, like when they're ramping up and as they're starting to exit. And it allows you to say, hey, do we really want to roll this out into the market because like we missed the boat? Maybe we just need to focus now on contemporary or whatever's coming next. But it allows you to see that real life behavioral data as it's happening, so you can make decisions on what you are or aren't going to do based on what the market wants.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost a recommendation would be, if you're opening community, get it out as soon as possible, right? It's coming soon. Give the people a chance to customize the home, play with floor plans, because again, in return, you're getting all this data and you can see who's shopping, what are they looking at, what are they favoriting. And what I love about it is that not only you get individual level information of what Joe Schmo is doing on your website, but you can also aggregate that information to get overall trends. So I'm curious, are there any specific buyer behaviors or trends that surprised you that you uncovered in insights?
So with trends specifically, I think the things that have caught me the most off guard, because we offer such a huge portfolio of homes and products, I don't have any specific trend in a home or a home site that maybe surprised me. But what really did surprise me when I first started digging into the data, when I had it available in the beginning and even on an ongoing process, is the amount of time that people spend on these tools, customizing their home or going through multiple renditions. Like they pick a floor plan typically, but they might build it out 3 or 4 or 5 different ways with different options, but it was both when they were spending time on the tools and how much time they were spending on the tools. As we all know, we want people on our website as long as possible. The longer they're there, the more emotionally connected they're getting to the home that they're building and the more comfortable they're getting with our brand. So we want them there as long as possible. And it's really interesting. I have the ability to go in and obviously, yes, there's trends. I can see on average how much my clients are spending online, and it gives me a time for that. But I can go into specific clients too and actually look at that and see that this person has spent 16 hours total from their first visit up to date on our tool. And I have absolutely had people who have spent 16 hours, sometimes more, on the tool across all of their visits. And that, like, being able to see that and understand that is incredible, helps us understand where that lead is in the process as well. But what I also like about it is it's reinforced a couple of things. One, I still think there's this ongoing challenge with web leads because they're not tangible for such a long time. Like to the sales manager sitting in the sales office, that person who spent 16 hours on our website but hasn't walked into the sales office yet, they're not really top of mind because they're not real yet. But when I can see that they're on their building and they've got 5 different floor plans with their options and they've spent 16 hours and they've come back 12 times over the last 2 weeks, like I can see all of that. This is a very real lead. So it makes those web leads tangible, but it also reinforces that shifting belief right now. As builders, it still blows my mind personally, but we've really struggled with being transparent with the public and giving our customers all the information that they want so they can do their own shopping, they can do their own research. There still seems to be this inclination out there sometimes to withhold information so they have to talk to us, even though studies have shown that backfires on us as builders. So when you can go on and see how much time they're spending and exactly what they're doing, it reinforces, it's like rewarding good behavior. Thank you. You put this information out there, so I'm going to reward you by spending more time on your website and playing with all this information that you put out there. So that was probably one of the most poignant things that came out of one of the trends, if you will, that I really liked looking at. And I've spent a little bit of time in.
Yeah, it's the early days of OSC, right? When they would book that appointment and a person would come in and it's like realizing that this person is probably a little bit more valuable than somebody else in front of you because they've already spent all this time talking to an OSC, getting all this information. They realize that this is probably the community for them. So now they're here in person to figure it out versus somebody walking in off the street may not know anything. Yeah. And it's always interesting to see, like you said, time of the day when people are shopping, it's always off hours. I think I've used Lombardo Homes for like all of my presentations that I do because you guys get good amount of traffic. So it's interesting to see. And it doesn't really matter which community you pick. It's always lighting up between like before a model home is open and then after 5 o'clock again through like midnight, even past, especially on the weekends, it's just like activity. And when a model home is open, it's not a whole lot of activity going on.
Right,
People are at
exactly.
work. Yeah. So it's interesting. So I'm curious, has your interactions changed with your salespeople or even members of your leadership team with how you make decisions, having this data now in front of you?
Yes, and I alluded to it or mentioned it earlier, but I think the biggest difference is that now instead of having a room full of people trying to make decisions based on this is how we've always done it or our past experiences, there's finally data there to back it up. And it was really interesting because when Insights was first available to us and we had this information, I always giggle about marketing a little bit because we're the colored pencil people. Everyone just thinks I don't know, I guess I sit in my office and color with colored pencils. I've had that reference made. So when it comes to sometimes data and marketing doesn't always make sense, or they think, oh, that's fun, but it's not necessary to home building. I think that's what happens a lot with marketing tools. It's, oh, that's really cool, but it's not necessary. That has in the past been the inclination. So when I first had these insights available, there was that whole, that's cool, that's cool. But as we've had more and more stories, like what I told you earlier, where a sales manager says, hey, this is what I'm seeing. And then I can pull up actual data and put it up on the screen for other people to see and go, yep, look, she's right, you guys, it's here. So in my world, that opinion or that thought process is now shifted to that's fun or that's cool to, hey, Mel, can you pull that up? Can we look into that? Can we see what's happening here at Broadmoor? Or can we see what's happening at this site? I've been able to pull up the data and back up a story or prove a point enough times that now when we're talking leadership, like they will look and say, hey, can we pull that up? Can we verify that in insights? Because we actually have something that can verify, like we can make decisions based on fact and data as opposed to relying on experience. And that doesn't mean that our experience doesn't count. It just means that the combination of the two together is a very strong combination. Often my experience, my division president's experience or my sales manager's experience isn't to be discounted. It's still very valuable, but having that data to also intermingle with that and back everything up is huge.
Yeah, I think especially valuable when market conditions shift quickly. And so when we saw people gravitating towards smaller footprints,
Right.
and so that information is very valuable to know up front, again, is you're able to pivot. And it's funny you say that in the beginning, you're like, yeah, we have this tool. And I feel like that's a lot of our customers because they use the marketing app, which is all the cool interactive tools that are customer facing. And then the flip side is this Anewgo Insights with the data. And I feel like so few of them actually spend time in the data. And I think that is going to be one of the biggest pushes here at Anewgo is we're going to try to bring more education to our clients on how you can use our tools better.
Yes.
If you already have the tool, like here's the ways you can utilize it. So for other home builders who are maybe hesitant about data-driven marketing, what advice would you give them as far as making that shift?
First of all, I can't imagine not having it at this point. It's funny because in terms of my overall career, I've only had it for a small period of my career, but it's mind blowing to me. I love to use this example. The very first time I spoke at IBS, my husband came, my engineer, my automotive engineer husband came with, and he made a comment afterwards, and he was like, really, all of this fuss about data? What have you been doing before that? Like, how could you do your job without data? But that really is how our job is. Or my job was for so long. It was a lot of experience. It was a lot of gut. It was a lot of, this is what we've always done. And now I look back and I can't imagine not having that data available. We're able to make really strong, really good decisions based on what our customers want and need and what they're doing. I can't imagine not having it. So for other builders, if I get the opportunity to get in front of them and someone asks me a question, I am a total nerd because I can talk about this for a really long time because I'm so passionate about it. But first of all, I think that anything that's giving you data, like with Anewgo specifically, the customer's getting something, they're getting something of value for this. And in return, like the customer doesn't even realize the information that they're giving to you as the builder. So the customer is getting something out of it. And that something that the customer is getting is a direction that we all really have to go to anyway. Yes, when I first started, I feel like I had the luxury of it being cool and fun. And it wasn't something at that time that maybe all the other builders were doing yet. But all the other builders are eventually going to have to do it. And that's already started. Like everyone realizes that we need these visualization tools because in every aspect of our life, like whether it's on Amazon or building out your car, like we can click and you can see that t-shirt in 120 different colors and 6 different fits. And so you have to go there anyway. So I recommend being open to it and starting in baby steps. Like you can't start and just bite off the whole thing and all of a sudden have a whole visualization tool and a catalog but baby steps. So we're going to do this first, and this is our goal. And we're going to do this second, and this is the goal of that. And they're going to do this third, and this is the goal of that until you finally built it out. But with that, especially if it's a matter of talking to your leadership or getting buy-in, when you can start sharing, and especially like you said, Anya, as the service provider, being able to talk to them about what data is available and what it can do, to take that back, I know my leadership team is very data driven. My division president, his history is in finance, and it's stats and data. They're things that they love. So when you can finally take something that we do, the colored pencils, if you will, the fun and cool, and apply it to customer behavior and show how it'll help increase sales and help with the overall customer experience, which then raises our customer service or our customer experience scores at the end of a buy, which then leads to more referral sales. When you can start showing how it builds on itself and it's a positive thing, it makes it really hard for anyone to say no to doing it, to not go down this route. And the fact of the matter is, very bluntly, the customers are going to demand that we do this anyway. So you might as well start doing it and reap the benefits of the data it's going to give you. We don't have much longer where customers are going to be okay with being handed a paper brochure and building a house with nothing but a black and white piece of paper that shows their elevation and floor plan. Like, those days are pretty much gone.
Yeah, and one of the challenges for marketing, like you said, the color pencil thing, it has been attribution, right? Is marketing contributing value? Are we driving sales? It's always been like, especially during the downturns in the market, it feels like you're always defending your job and your value, right? So this is a perfect thing. If you want to defend your value as a marketer, that gives you exactly right. Like, you can launch a social media campaign and you can see immediate results from social media campaign and your insights of web traffic increasing. People are going to the floor plan that you directed them to. So it's a great tool for you as a marketer just to prove your own value.
Right.
And then one of the things we've definitely been listening to our customers and implementing is more webhooks and integrations to make it easier for salespeople and OSCs to use the tools. Because again, if people are shopping on your website, it would be really useful to know when certain events take place that you're being notified directly in your CRM, so you don't have to have 5 different systems open, because we know it's already challenging enough to get salespeople to use technology. So that's something that we're implementing and integrating more and more CRMs. So definitely reach out if you're already using our insights and you want to know how you can integrate it to make it easier for your salespeople. That's just the way to go.
That was one of my favorite things, I have to say, that you guys did, because that's a conversation we have a lot. I have so many more tools available to me. My team does as well, but there's a lot of, you need to go here for this and you need to go here for that. And you need to, so when it's like that, you don't necessarily use them as much as you should because you're spending time in all of these different places. In our case, we're using Lasso, that's our CRM. And when we were able to bring those together, where now when there's certain key points where if a customer does certain actions within my world, when they do certain things, it goes into Lasso and it automatically creates a task for my sales managers to then follow up with that person. And the great part about this that I love is, it's doing it right in a tool that they already have open every single day right in front of them. And it just immediately populates, this person was on, here's what they were doing. And it literally does, it gives a link so they can see everything. Here's what they were doing. You need to now follow up with an email or a text message or whatever the action is. But it also then gives us the ability, we're following up when the customer is hot, like when they are actually in the midst of looking, when they're most likely to want to take action. We're not following up with them a week later or 2 weeks later when that emotion is like gone away, or they've maybe forgotten about us, or their head's not in home building right then. So it gives us the ability to understand, like, no, this person's here and live now, and it would behoove me to follow up in the next 12 to 24 hours, because we don't want to do it instantly because it might be creepy, but in the next little bit, because they're interested right now. So let me be available to answer questions right now. But having it available in a format that they're already in every single day, and basically just in their face, hey, hi, I'm here, lead, follow up, was awesome. I was so excited when you guys did that.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So more webhooks to come. We're definitely exploring other partnerships and possibilities to make your jobs as easy as possible, right? Because again, we don't want you logging in into 10 different systems. So we are certainly trying to make it as smooth as possible of an experience. And it is a cool experience when, you have a customer walking through the door and they have the brochure in hand of a custom home that they designed on the website. Like, I remember John Lee saying, like, one of his early adopters, I think it was Smith Douglas Homes, and he said they weren't quite bought in until the VP said, oh, we just had a customer walk in through the door and he handed us a brochure and said, this is the house that I want. And it was like, okay, this makes sense. People want it, they're designing it, and that's what they're doing. Most, I'm curious, how do you see technology specifically in home building experience transforming over the next few years? What digital tools or trends are you keeping an eye on? What do you think is going to be, again, I know next few years, right? It's not, let's not say 5 to 10, let's say like 1 to 5 years, because 10 years, who knows if we're even have jobs at this point with AI, right?
This question is a little, I don't know if it's completely fair for me because I've had the luxury of having, at this point, unlimited conversations with you and Beth and John and Andrew. One of the things that I'm most excited about, and we're getting closer and closer every single day, is just how AI is changing our worlds. And I'm looking forward to the day when our customers do a little bit less of the work and AI does a little bit more of the work. I do think that's a change that's going to happen. And again, a lot of this has come from discussions I've had with several of you and others in the industry that enjoy data the same way and digital tools. But I think it was very interesting as we had some of the conversations when you realize, like, through Google search and whatever else, like, it feeds up results, and then the customer, the client, has to go through and find whether or not a builder fits them or a community fits them or if the floor plan works for them. Like, the customer is spending hours and hours clicking and diving deeper. And over the next several years, it'll be interesting to see the direction that AI takes. And if that world does come about where they become a little bit more of our sort of personal shoppers, where Amazon recommending stuff, but you type something in and say, this is what I'm looking for, and AI goes and finds it instead of you diving through all 35 Lombardo communities to find what fits you. AI tells you, based on the information you gave me, this is what fits you. I just think that I'll revolutionize the process for the customer, and it's obviously going to keep changing how we do things and what's important in our world too. I would like to see over time the interactive tools become more and more in-depth and detailed. Like, my dream is that by the time I retire, which I'm nowhere close to yet, but I really hope that people can do the same thing that they do with a car, where they're literally building, if they want to, they can build their house in its entirety. They can pick their trim package and their colors and see those dollar amounts and literally come in and have a purchase order summary or something to that effect that's within just a few $1,000s of what the final purchase price will be. But along those same lines too, shows them their colors in their rooms with their options. And again, we've got different parts of this available. I'm excited all the parts that I have, but right now, in order to do that, what the car industry, the auto industry has done here, it's still cost prohibitive for a builder to be able to build every single one of their floor plans, every single one of their rooms in every floor plan with every single color combination, and then also populate it with all of the pricing and be able to manage that. So it's a big feat, but I'm hoping at some point that we get there before I retire. Because I do think that the customers, even now, I get emails from customers that say, why can't I see my house? Like, why can't I see every room in my house? They're spending, house prices are high, they're spending a lot of money, and it's hard to spend that much money, and you really don't get to see it until it's done. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, my dream, and I think that's something that we've been working on. I know right now it's not possible, but we're certainly working towards that. The virtual tour where you can customize the house as you go, and yeah, at the end of the tour, you'd be able to just add to cart, right? With all the finishes, all the
yeah,
choices, you visualized it, all the pricing is there. That's definitely the ultimate dream.
yeah,
And I agree with you on AI. I am so excited about the personal shopping assistant. I just think about how much time it would save us as consumers ourselves. And then also just how many more people will be open to new construction, I think, because right now, we're losing a mass amount of people before
yeah,
they get to you, just because how difficult it is to find that needle in the
yeah,
haystack of a perfect floor plan that I want on the perfect lot that I want at a perfect price with the perfect options that I want. It's a very difficult process. So if AI can figure that out for you and bring you the result, it just makes it so much better for builders, because I think our bucket for the customer just will increase drastically. But in order to do that, you do have to have data, right? It's just like Netflix, where it knows what you want to watch next. You have to be able to express your homes to AI in the same way that it has to be able to understand it. And that goes back to data. And you mentioned ROI. Some things are cost prohibitive right now. Now, obviously, Lombardo Homes, you've been ahead of the curve as far as interactive and self-service experiences go for your buyers. So can you talk a little bit about some of the results? Because I think, again, for most builders, okay, but what's the ROI here? Is it worth it?
So I think the biggest thing, and I'm not going to get into dollars and cents at this point, but the biggest thing for us is actually the consumer confidence. The biggest effect that it's had is our customers, when they come to us, they've been online. You use that story with Smith Douglas Homes where they came in with their brochure and said, "This is what I want." That's real. That happens with our OSC, like the OSC, when she starts engaging before appointment, even customers have been on and they just send her that brochure so she knows what they're looking at. She can answer some of the questions. And then when she sets up the appointment, that information all gets transferred. By the time a customer comes and sits down with us for their appointment, they know what they want. They have a good idea of, like, they've qualified themselves. But also that process of going from I'm just looking to contacting an OSC to an appointment, it's gotten much shorter. People sit down faster because they've done all their research. They've already spent the 16 hours or 20 hours, or they've been shopping us long before my OSC or especially my sales manager even really knows that they exist. So even when that customer finally sits down with a sales manager for their first appointment, they're just meeting for the first time, but that client is intimately aware of who Lombardo Homes is, and they're even very in touch with what they want. So that time frame has gotten a lot smaller. People are more willing to sit down quicker, which is incredible. The other great part is they are very confident in what they want. So as far as taking the first appointment to contract, also shorter, but going through the contract and that process of doing price outs and all of that, it's not, yes, we still sit down and go through our options and talk through them, but it's not like it's the first time the customer is seeing them or hearing about them. So again, it goes much quicker. And then the last sort of part of this is when they get to the design studio. The design studio was actually a very heavy user of the Anewgo tools, the visualization tools.
Yep.
And I should have known that, but in my world, it was always this pre-sale tool. And that's really where my mindset was for a really long time. But whenever I go to the design studio, it's always one of their team members that are like, "Oh my gosh, we love this so much. The customers love this. It's so helpful with exteriors." So again, these appointments that traditionally can take a long time, and there's still lots of conversations. We aren't having 1 hour appointments by any means, but you can finally, going back to our days of making a selection of a brick home off of a sample that's this big versus seeing your actual brick on your home in your elevation with your colors, there's just a confidence in what they're doing. So that sort of the time involved in making the decision has become much shorter, but then also people maybe regretting or second guessing their decisions. That's minimal at this point because they have something tangible to walk away with. They can save it in their brochure, they can print it off, whatever it is, but they see what their house looks like. So it's really helped with consumer confidence, which is incredible. And again, it's shortened our cycle time, if you will. People are they sit down quicker, they go to contract quicker.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's all the things that we think are going to happen, but it's great to see that in action.
It actually
And
does.
I agree with you. It's as when we create software, sometimes it's surprising how our customers actually end up using it. And so we were also very surprised how many people use us in a design studio very heavily. Some of our customers don't even, for whatever reason, maybe it's the corporate or whatever, they can't put us on their website for customers, but they're using us on the interior inside for the design team to see, oh, of all the 50 different sidings we have and 25 roof colors and 50 different door colors and shutters and trim acts and all of that, what are the packages that we want to offer? And again, instead of coming up with that on the board, like in the old school days, we're seeing that they're using our exterior design tool to quickly come up with that on the fly. And then the best part of it is that it's unlimited, right? Like you can come up with unlimited combinations
Yep.
and you can download those renderings and ready to go. So it makes it not only great use case for marketing, for salespeople, but also design people. So yeah, it's definitely been surprising for us to find that, oh, wow, that's interesting how people are using us. Melissa, I feel like I can spend another hour chatting with you here, but I know gotta let you go. So Melissa, thank you so very much for being first of all, being our oldest standing Anewgo client. We appreciate the journey and we appreciate the trust. I certainly appreciate your time for this podcast and sharing with us. And then Melissa, if somebody wants to reach out to you, if they want to learn more, if they have any questions, do you hang out anywhere on social media, or what's the best way to reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I look at it more than I post on it, but I am there. So you can see me there. And then also my email address. I love these conversations. So anyone reach out anytime, but is mcervin@lombardohomes.com. MCERV as in Victor, IN at lombardohomes.com. I'd welcome any conversation.
And I will be sure to link that information in the show notes. So if you guys have any questions for Melissa specifically, feel free to reach out. And of course, if you have any product specific questions, reach out to our VP of Sales, Beth Bird. Melissa, again, thank you so much for being a guest on today's show. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you. Loved the conversation.
Bye.
Bye.